Hi loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I make new videos every single week and I have so many fun videos coming up for you guys, so if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and turn on my bell notifications so you don't miss a thing. Since St. Patrick's Day is coming up, I thought I would try and come up with some fun recipes to share with you guys. All the recipes in this video are going to be vegan, but I promise you're not even going to be able to taste the difference. They're that good. But of course you can substitute out any of the ingredients for ones that you prefer. As with all my cooking and baking videos, there will be recipe cards in here for you to screenshot and written recipes in the description box below if you are interested in making any of these recipes at home. And if you would like to check out my other cooking and baking videos, I will leave a playlist up here and in the description box below for you to check out as well. Okay, let's get right into these recipes. The first recipe we're going to make today is matcha cookies. I really love interesting sweets, and this cookie is so refreshing and light it has quickly become one of my favorite desserts. Also, this beautiful green color is perfect for St. Patrick's Day. First, we are going to get started off by mixing up our flax egg in a separate bowl. For this, you're going to need half a tablespoon of ground flaxseed and 1.5 tablespoons of water. This will thicken up in about 5 minutes and take on an egg-like consistency, but until then, I'm just putting that to the side until it's ready. So next, we are going to cream together our 1/4 cup of butter and 1/3 cup of sugar. I actually messed this part up majorly. You're not supposed to melt the butter, but mine was kind of frozen and I tried warming it up and I got distracted and yeah, I melted it. I added in the sugar anyway and mixed it together, and to thicken it up, I actually put the whole bowl in my freezer for about a minute and it worked out perfectly. So by now your 5 minutes should be up on your flax egg, and you can pour that right into the butter and sugar mixture along with 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and half a teaspoon of matcha powder. Once everything is all mixed in, add in your 1/2 cup of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a pinch of salt, and fold everything together until you have a uniform consistency. Now that we have our cookie dough, I'm going to roll it into golf ball sized pieces and plop that into a little cup with a few tablespoons of sugar in it and shake it around until it is completely coated in it. Then I just press them into these perfect little circles and place them on a lightly greased baking tray. Finally, I am baking these in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 14 minutes based on your oven. I ended up baking mine for about 11 minutes. They'll come out looking a little bit soft, but that is totally okay. Just let them set for around 10 minutes and they will be perfectly soft on the inside and crunchy on the outside. This next recipe is actually not an original, as I wanted to feature a traditional Irish recipe in here, and I chose this one because the creator of this one said that this recipe was inspired by the soda bread their mom used to make on St. Patrick's Day when they were growing up. So if you'd like to check out their blog and their original recipe, I will have the links to that down below. I will say I did make some slight adjustments to this recipe just based on personal preference and what I had on hand. So the recipe card for this is the adjusted recipe, but the original recipe, again, like I said, is linked down below. First, we're going to start off by making some vegan buttermilk using a cup of almond milk and a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and I'm mixing that together and letting it set for 5 minutes just like we did the flax egg. While that is resting, we are going to get started with the dry ingredients. I'm adding in 2 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and half a teaspoon of baking soda. Now, if you've ever made pie crust, this next step is kind of similar to that process. I'm cutting 1/4 cup of cold butter into tiny little pieces and working that into our dry mixture. You can totally use a food processor or a pastry cutter for this. I just really did not feel like washing either one of those, so I just used my hands. Once all the butter is incorporated and there aren't any more clumps, I'm adding in the cup of raisins and I'm just stirring that a bit before I add in the buttermilk and mix that all in. The dough should start to come together at this point, so it's time to pour that out onto our floured cutting board and start kneading in about 1/3 cup of flour into our bread. You don't need to do this for too long as the bread could become kind of dense, but just knead it enough to the point where the dough isn't super sticky. Now we are going to get a lightly greased baking tray and place our bread right in the middle, and we are going to score the top of this with a large X. Doing this helps the middle cook and expand, and it's also just gorgeous, like look at that. We are going to bake this in the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 40 to 50 minutes. A way to check if it's done is by using a toothpick in the middle of the bread, and if it comes out with dough on it, you should bake it for longer, but if it comes out clean, you're all good to go. This bread is amazing with just a little bit of butter on it, or even toasted and plain is absolutely amazing. I really enjoy this recipe so much. Now we are on to our final recipe. This is my take on a shamrock shake. It's not an exact replica, but it is as close as I can get to it with what I have on hand. So to start off, I am blending together 1 cup of almond milk and half a teaspoon of matcha powder. I only added in about half the amount of matcha I was supposed to here, but I went back in and added more later. I'm using this mostly for the color in this, so if you don't like the taste, you can totally substitute this out for food dye or something similar, but I happen to really like the taste of it, so that's why I added it in here. I also didn't have any vegan ice cream, so I made some homemade using sugar, vanilla, and almond milk in a bag, and I froze it overnight, so that's what I'm adding in here. Then finally, I am adding in about 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract and blending that up until it's smooth. I ended up adding some foamy vanilla almond milk on top to get that gradient you see here, but you can totally add some whipped cream on top as well. So those were all my St. Patrick's Day recipes. I really hope you guys enjoyed them. If you liked this video and you want to see more like it, be sure you give this video a thumbs up so I know to make more for you guys. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and turn on my bell notifications so you don't miss a thing. I hope you all have an amazing St. Patrick's Day. Stay safe, stay healthy, make good choices, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.